Welcome, depressed Broncos fans. This is your Monday Morning Minute, 5280 Sports Network. That is Sean Drotar. I am Nate Lundy. We are not sharing in your depression this morning because, well, we saw it coming. But for those of you that still are depressed, perhaps you're like TJ Ward complaining about the officiating. More on that in a moment. Sean, how do we brighten everyone's day, or do we just let them be depressed?
I think you just wallow in it for a day or two, because this is what this team was going to be. At the beginning of the year, I said they were a 9-7 team. This is a year in transition with the quarterback. The offensive line simply is not good enough. It was never going to be good enough. And this is where the Broncos eventually, after a certain time in any sort of season, you start to settle into the kind of team you are. The Broncos started well. Now they've lost 3 of 5. And they look at this point like the team we thought they were going to be. A team with a good but overtaxed defense. And a team with an offense that simply doesn't have enough to go out and win games for you. So the next step for the Broncos, I think you first thing, try to somehow get Derek Wolfe healthy, because that's really a problem with
bionic elbows.
Something. I don't know about that. Then the next step, quite frankly, is you have to change the play calling. They're not going to get a much better quarterback, whether that's Paxton Lynch or Trevor Siemian, because nobody throws well when they have less than a second before they get hit. 6 times Trevor Siemian was hit before he completed his drop back. That's not going to change, whether it's Lynch, whether it's Siemian, whether you can dig Johnny Unitas up and put him back behind center. That's not going to change. So the Broncos have to look into changing the way they call offensively more than anything else.
Yeah, the more times I hear people arguing about putting Paxton Lynch out there because what have you got to lose, can't get any worse. Come on, we've heard all the phrases. My question is, does that change the play calling? Does it change the play calling? Because if the idea is that you're going to put Paxton Lynch back in shotgun, my question would be, well, then why don't you put Trevor Siemian back in shotgun and see what happens? You have issues with the play calling right now and with the plays that are being run. Perfect example. How many times are you going to face a 3rd and long and pass to a receiver or attempt to pass to a receiver who is 4 yards short of the first down marker? That's not effective play calling right there. You cannot have Emmanuel Sanders curling when they need to gain 7 and he is 4 yards deep. That doesn't work. Go back and look at the play calling. So if the answer is Paxton Lynch, my question is, are you going to put Paxton Lynch and call the exact same plays you've been calling? Or are you going to put Paxton Lynch in there and you're going to adjust to him? Because those are the questions that you have to decide going forward for the final 7 games of the year, because you are staring 9-7 in the face, which is exactly where a lot of people, Sean and I included, thought this team would be. The only way they were going to be better was for this defense to completely replicate what they did last January and do it for 16 games. And that is a lot to ask of any defense. I don't care how good they are, and I don't care whether your defensive coordinator is on the sideline getting run over or up in the booth. You have a problem when your defense is out there on the field for 70+% of the time of possession. And until that changes, which is on the offense, by the way, not on the defense, you have issues. So going forward, they now go on the road against the Saints. Not an easy task. We know how good New Orleans and Drew Brees are when they're on the turf. They have plenty of film now to see how they can try to go after this Broncos team. They certainly don't have the same running back type of attack that Oakland does. We know that, but Breeze can beat you in a number of different ways. So this is going to be an interesting week to get ready for. One other piece of news that flew under the radar. Why? Because it leaked right at kickoff. The Rockies have hired a new manager in Bud Black, former manager of San Diego. Sean, your initial thoughts?
Well, Bud Black's not going to set the world on fire. I don't think anyone goes, oh my gosh, they got Bud Black. But he's at least an experienced guy. And more importantly, he didn't work for the Rockies prior to this year, so that's a step forward. The next thing for the Rockies to find out if they're serious about getting better, they said they'd keep the pitching coaches. They need to let Bud Black hire his own pitching coaches. If they don't, I think we're still just putting lipstick on the same pig.
Yeah, exactly. So we go through the week, we get ready for another road game against the Saints, then the bye week for the Broncos. We keep an eye on the Nuggets. Big win for them in Boston yesterday, and the Avalanche as well. All of it at 5280sportsnetwork.com, also at milehighsports.com, and of course your morning minutes. Sean and I back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. on Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1340, FM 1047. For Sean, I'm Nate. See ya.